Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? All right, so the Saints lose on Sunday in London. God, how miserable of a weekend for that. Went to bed late on Saturday after doing whiskey and wine. Woke up early on Sunday, did a companion show for the Saints and Vikings, and all the emotions that you would expect you'd feel after a game like that, I did. So Saints lose 28-25. They lose their third in a row. They're 1-5 on the season. 1-3 on the season, They're 1-3 on the season. They've lost 3 in a row. Now they fly home today on Monday. They'll probably use all day Tuesday to get their body clocks back right. And then on Wednesday, start getting ready for Seattle coming in on Sunday, who all of a sudden, behind Geno Smith, have found themselves offensively. And the Saints better find themselves, because if you don't get this game against Seattle and you start 1-4, and then you're staring down Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, then a short week road trip to Arizona, then back home against Lamar Jackson, and then the Steelers, or the Raiders, and then you're at the Steelers. I mean, you are looking at potentially one of those worst team in the NFL type seasons if they don't get things in this ship righted quickly. And some people may look at this and say, yeah, Matt, but look, we've seen this before with the Saints. We've seen them struggle out the gate before. The 2012 Bounty Gate year, of course, 2014, 15, 16. I mean, that was a very common theme with those seasons. The back-to-back-to-back 7-9 seasons was that the Saints started slowly out the gate. And when they started slowly out the gate, then ultimately they caught they caught up, but they expended so much energy trying to get themselves back right that they fizzled down the stretch. 2014, they started 0-2. They won week 3, then lost week 4. So they started 1-3 out the gate. And then it was like win one, lose 2, win 2. And they just volleyed back and forth. And ultimately, that's how you ended up 7-9. But the difference is then you had Drew Brees and Sean Payton. And even with those teams that were void of talent in a lot of spots, you got to 7-9 because of Brees and Payton. Without Brees and Payton, you would have been looking at 2-14. You don't have those two guys anymore. You don't have the safety net, the security blanket. You're looking at Dennis Allen, who's never had success as a head coach, and either Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton, who's never been elite in their career. It's not to say they can't play well at times and you don't have talent in spots. You do. But every team has talent in spots, even awful football teams. But like we often talk about, the margin is so small in the NFL. And right now, this is just not a good football team. And the worst part about this is you could say, all right, this team will take its lumps, but you're looking for your franchise in the next draft. You get it. That's what happens, right? You're a terrible team. You end up with a top 10 pick. You're in position to draft an elite quarterback and try to build around that young elite quarterback. Except your potential top 10 draft pick now resides with the Philadelphia Eagles in the trade that you made to acquire Chris Olave. So, y'all, I'll get into this game against Minnesota specifically, but what we saw again is what I feel like I say every week here. I feel like a broken record. In the NFL, the margin is too thin. You cannot continuously make mistakes that open the door for other teams to beat you. The game against the Bucs, you are running the football down their throat in a game where neither team could score. You're poised to take the lead. Mark Ingram fumbles at the 10-yard line. Fight ensues, game changes. Against Carolina's offense couldn't score. They're terrible. Alvin Kamara fumbles, scoop and score. You doink, or you get a field goal blocked, you miss a field goal. That's 13 points. You lost by 8. It's a 13-point swing right there when you gave them 13 points. And then your 2 fumbles yesterday in London. I mean, you're a professional. Hold on to the damn ball. It's not just one guy, it's all of them. Andy Dalton, 10-yard line right before halftime. You're thinking, all right, Let's see if you can go get points right here. Go get points before half, double dip, come back, get the ball to start the second half, see if you can go back to back. Andy Dalton fumbles at the 10-yard line. You give them a field goal. Defense did great. Defense, time and time again, stepped up and held Minnesota to threes. I mean, that's what kept you in the ballgame, was the fact that your defense, after you were down 7-0, you tied it on the 4-yard pass of Olave. Minnesota hit 3 straight field goals. I mean, 4. Their next 4 scores were all field goals. Your defense did well enough to keep you in the ball game time and time again, but you continuously gave up advantageous situations. Deontay Hardy, you get a punt, you're going to get the ball right there around midfield, great field position. He fumbles the damn punt. Defense stands up again, but they get 3 points out of it. If you just look at the 2 field goals that Minnesota got off of your 2 fumbles, that's a 6-point swing. 28-25, you lost by 3. There's your margin. You cannot commit the amount of penalties and have the amount of turnovers the Saints have. When you are dead last in the NFL in turnovers and penalties, you're not a good football team. You're not disciplined. You're not well coached. And this team is not disciplined. They are not well coached. And they are a bad football team. And in spite of that, at times they've had chances to win. And they did yesterday as well. I will give the Saints tremendous credit for their resolve, for coming back, to rally, to take the lead. There was a couple of good things that I want to talk about, which we'll get to here in a second. But, of course, Taysom gets the touchdown run. You get the 2-point conversion to Jarvis Landry. It's 22-19. You take a lead in the fourth quarter with 9.5 to play, and it looks like you're off the field. You get the stop on third down with about 5 and change to play, and they call illegal hands to the face on Tyrann Mathieu. We all know what happened after that. The pass interference down the field on Lattimore. Justin Jefferson would get the 3-yard run untouched around left end. I mean, good on Will Lutz for drilling the 60-yarder. If you just want to talk strategy, I hate kicking the 60-yarder there because it was a minute 51 and Minnesota had all 3 timeouts. I think you go for it on fourth down right there. You just know that you're going to put them in position to kick a game-winning field goal, which ultimately they did. They hit the big play to Jefferson down the middle. They kicked the field goal to go up 28-25. It's great reception by Olave to give the Saints an opportunity, to give Lutz an opportunity at the 61-yarder to tie it and send it to overtime, but it double doinked. But if you're focusing on the double doink today, if all you're doing is focusing on the penalties that were called against New Orleans late in the game, your anger, your frustration is misplaced. Because right now this is the team that is undisciplined. They don't protect the football. They cannot move the ball offensively. They committed 10 penalties for 102 yards. And yes, I know one of them was the PI. Quite honestly, I didn't have a problem with the PI. There was a ton of contact, and in this NFL, I expect that flag to be thrown. And yes, I know Thielen grabbed the front of Lattimore's face mask. Lattimore initiated the contact, and he had Thielen's right arm hooked. So I get it. Both guys have a right to the ball. There was a ton of contact right there. You expect, if the shoe was on the other foot and you're a Saints fan and that's a Saints receiver, you're expecting that flag to be thrown. Okay? And please spare me the Nolan no call. I know all the history. I'm just talking in generalities. Like, if that's your team, if the roles are reversed, you're expecting to get the flag right there. The one that I had a problem with was the awful call on the hands to the face on Tyrann Mathieu. That was a brutal call. It was a check on within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage on his shoulder pad. It's just to get a receiver off of his route, off of his timing. It happens in every play, every game, all the time. Terrible call by the ref. I'm with you. That's not why the Saints lost. The Saints lost because they're undisciplined. They turn the ball over. They have no semblance of an offensive identity or structure. And everything we thought with this team, where you're maintaining all of the continuity of the Peyton era, you're promoting Dennis Allen, you're keeping Pete Carmichael, you have a lot of the same players, you got veteran leadership in the locker room. Look, is that game different if Michael Thomas plays and Alvin Kamara plays and Marcus May plays? Maybe. But those guys played last week against Carolina. It did make a lick of difference. You are what you are at this point. Now, can you improve? Hopefully. Because if not, it's just going to keep getting a lot worse. I'll tell you, I thought I was extremely disappointed in Marshawn Lattimore's play. That's not exactly breaking news or anything. But Justin Jefferson, 10 catches for $147. Justin Jefferson on Marshawn Lattimore looked like a varsity high school kid going against a middle schooler. It was just, it wasn't just that he was winning contested one-on-ones. He was dusting Marshawn Lattimore. the separation he was getting was yards of separation. These were not even contested catches. It's incredible what Jefferson did yesterday. And I mean, the one hand, of course, as a guy who loves Jefferson, he's from New Orleans, played at LSU. I love it, but I hate that it came against the Saints. Andy Dalton, I thought, was efficient in the ball game. 20 of 28 for 236 and a score. The fumble at the 10-yard line was heinous, especially for a guy that's played as much as Andy Dalton did. I don't think they really let him stretch the field very much. I mean, the deep ball, the 50-yarder he threw to Olave, you're down the middle to get the Saints in position to attempt the 61-yarder. Olave made a hell of a play. But other than that, I can't really tell you that I thought Andy Dalton wowed in any way. Clearly, if he's healthy, he's your best option with an injured Jameis. If Jameis is healthy, I think Jameis is your guy. You at least give him the opportunity to be. Maybe the best thing to come out of yesterday was Latavius Murray. He carried it 11 times for 57 yards. For a guy that's in his early 30s, he was 32 years old. I'm not telling you that he's drinking from the fountain of youth. It's probably a situation where guy with fresh legs, first game he's played this year, since last season, and you only asked him to carry it 11 times. Now, how does that look if it's week? If it's game 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10? I mean, I'm sure he wears down. That's what we see. But can you ask him to be fresh legs coming off the bench? Maybe, and he certainly looked good in that role. He looked better than Mark Ingram has. If Kamara comes back, I'd rather Murray than Mark Ingram, quite honestly. So, I don't know. It's frustrating. It's exceedingly disappointing because you don't see, like, the cavalry's not on the way. It's not like, just hang on until ... This is a bad team. They're poorly coached. They're undisciplined. And I don't know that those are things that you just fix. And with the schedule ahead, we looked at it and said, hey, through those first 5, you got to be 3-2. You have to have a winning record through the first 5 because look at the gauntlet that's coming. And instead, you're probably staring at 1-4. And you're a miracle fourth quarter away from being 0-4 right now and potentially looking at 0-5. So they'll try to get it fixed, and they better. If you want to salvage anything in this season. I mean, the silver lining is your division stinks. I didn't get much right, but the thing I got right is Tampa stinks. Their offense stinks. And as a result, you still have a shot in this division if you can get some things righted. We've seen bad teams make the playoffs before. I mean, the Saints went up against the Seattle team in 2010. Would they win the division at 7-9 or 8-8? I forget whichever it was. I think they were 7-9. Like, this is a bad division. So if you can get hot, you got a shot. If you can catch fire, that's a big if at this point. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.